Are we audible outside of here? Is that part of our technicality or not? Uh, I've been asked to remind Shane or Sean? Shane, that he didn't respond at first, so we will take public comment from those not present at the end as well. If he's listening in, that would be his opportunity. If not, next time. Say again. Okay, Shane is online. Shane, we will get to you in a few moments. So at the end. So staff, if you'd like to cover item number 2 in the work session.
I am also here to report travel earlier this month to Phillipsburg from April 1st to April 4th to provide legal advice and support during the 3-day public hearing regarding the application of L&L Site Services for Class D Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity. This goes towards the department's mission to provide competence and professional support to the commission and its regulation of intrastate Class D motor carriers. Earlier this morning, I updated my post-travel accountability report based on a new lodging receipt I was made aware of showing actual costs. With this update, my actual travel costs were $540.58. This is $25.77 less than estimated in my original travel request due to the original estimate being based on a reservation receipt that overstated actual costs. That is all I have prepared for my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I see Katie.
Good morning. Good afternoon. I also went to Phillipsburg for the L&L Site Services hearing on docket 2024.12.119. I provided technical support, I suppose, setting up for our public comment, facilitation and live streaming of the hearing for the 3 days. My funds total cost came in at $530.08.
Okay, next we have, I believe it's me. So I gave a report from my trip to Nayrook, and I'm not going to go through that again, but I did not list my expenses, which cost of travel and motel, etc. Registration fees was $2,560.07. Included that was unexpected, not counted for, I guess, expenditures, which was a yellow cab receipt for $20 and a $15.86 taxi receipt from when I went to meet with our congressional delegation. So it's a total of $2,560.70. And the travel dates were 2/22/25 to 2/26/25. That is all. Commissioner Panochi.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll start with our big timber trip where we had to listen to complaints reported to the commission on garbage. The dates were February 6th and February 7th. Cost of travel was $513. And wanted to report on the way back was the worst roads I'd ever experienced in my life. And probably should have spent a night again to avoid that. But there was no way to turn around once you were on the interstate. Once I got to Bozeman, the roads were a lot better. So we were able to continue back to Helena, where I checked in with the office. Next trip, we're going to talk about a listening session in Miles City and Glendive concerning MDU's resource adequacy. Date was 3/4/25 and 3/6/25. Cost of that trip was $871.95. And in this session, we just listened to MDU's game plan moving forward. And we had some public show up to that. Next trip we're going to talk about is Nayrook, which I was able to explain a little bit about that. The cost of that was $2,971.22. And One of the interesting things is when you go to NARUC events, you really have to pay attention to technology changes, like the new gas meter that they're able to turn on and off without having somebody go. And it's kind of the new smart gas meter. But one of the things I'm really focused on here is reducing fire risk. And they had a company that can reinforce the structure that holds up our power lines with carbon fiber. And they can really triple the strength of a power structure. This is really interesting in the areas of like the hurricane affected areas in Florida. The technology really exists to where distribution lines and I would say transmission lines could withstand pretty much any hurricane that we have on record. We just simply harden the grid, if you will. We've got power lines that are twice the strength with carbon fiber in them over steel core, and the structures are now being built out of concrete or reinforced with carbon fiber. These samples are quite heavy, and my suitcase was overweight, and I guess the price of my overweight suitcase won't be covered in my travel, and I have to pay for that on my own, which has happened before, but I think is a little bizarre because it's like you're being punished for bringing back these samples that I think are important, that we understand that technology exists to reduce fire risk, I believe, by in half. So that is something that I wanted to bring out that I guess I'm paying for my own. But the technology changes that are in front of us are very important to take notice of because fire liability to utilities is getting to be so severe. Insurance companies, I believe, are going to start refusing to cover utilities. We see legislation where they're trying to rework liability to the utility. And I think that the insurance companies need to recognize utilities that are making these investments in these high performance conductors and stronger structures. I think the utility should be rewarded with lower insurance rates and be recognized for these investments. Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my report. And that date in Washington was 2/22 through 2/26 to Washington, D.C. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So we've already handled Commissioner Bukacek. If she's been excused, that leaves us with, I believe, Commissioner Wellborn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may want to have a 15-minute break before I embark on my report, just to give people a chance to stretch their legs. But in case I
I still have half a cup. We're good.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I guess I didn't trigger the need for a report. I was able to attend the meeting in Big Timber, but no need to report on that based on our rules. But I did also go to Phillipsburg regarding docket 2024-12119. I spent 3 days with staff and fellow Commissioner Bukacek. Thank you, by the way, to the staff for doing a exemplary job over there. And I think putting a good meeting or a good hearing and a good face on our commission for the people that attended. But anyway, the cost of my travel totaled $613.70. I'm guessing most of that was lodging. I did travel from Dillon. Again, I spent 3 days, and it was basically a evidentiary hearing regarding an application for a Class D certificate. So anyway, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Wellborn. You being the parliamentarian of repute, do we need a motion to accept these, or do we just say thank you for making them, or what's? I've never done this before.
Mr. President, the post-travel accountability reports are just that. It's a public accounting of how monies for travel exceeding $500 were spent. And so I think the reports given today satisfied the requirements in our transparency efforts with our travel.
Yeah.
And other than just having the forms finished and signed.
Thank you.
I think we're good.
Okay, so moving right along, a legislative report. This is commission initiated to discuss bills relevant to the PSC mission, statutory authority, administrative processes, and general agency concerns, or discuss the PSC budget request presentation, consider staff's analysis and recommendations, provide direction on PSC response to bills. Our new presenter until any further changes, it would be our Executive Director, Alana. Take it away, Alana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, my name is Alana Lake, staff member here at the PSC. Happy to provide the legislative update for today. So we'll go over previous action. I'm actually going to start on House Bill 490. That's the bill to revise civil liability laws. That bill passed out of both the House and Senate and is headed to the governor. House Bill 911, that is to revise the meaning of the term public utility. That is currently tabled in the Senate Energy Committee. We are tracking that bill closely.
Excuse me, is that tabled or simply awaiting executive action?
It is currently tabled.
Okay.
Senate Bill 301, that is the bill to generally revise utility lines and facilities laws. That was passed by both the Senate and the House on April 18th and is headed to the governor. Senate Bill 561 to revise Public Service Commission membership. That bill is tabled in the House State Administrative Committee. House Bill 2, that is the General Appropriations Act, the budget. That passed second reading in the Senate on April 17th. The third reading is expected this week. Of note, if there is no agreement on that, this bill will go to a conference committee, but I will be tracking that closely and providing updates throughout the week. And to review the PSC legislative agenda for this session, Senate Bill 22, Senate Bill 23, Senate Bill 51, and House Bill 45. Those have all passed through both houses and all are on the desk of the governor, awaiting signature or have already been signed. And of note, House Bill 45, that was the final legislative item for the PSC. And with that, all of our PSC agenda items are complete for this session. Upcoming hearings, there are currently none scheduled. Again, we will be watching House Bill 911 and House Bill 2 for further updates, and we'll provide those as needed. That
Okay.
is all, Mr. President, pending any questions.
So far as House Bill 2, reconciliation and conference committees back and forth. I think that our Vice President knows a lot more about budgetary than I do. So certainly keep her in the loop. I don't know if you're going to be around the next few days. I would imagine so. So keep me in the loop, but she would be our lead commissioner and you'd be our lead staffer.
Copy that, Mr. President.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much, Lana. Okay, next I'll go back to public comment. Shane Eaton, are you online?
I am, Mr. President. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Shane. Please proceed.
Thank you. I'd like to offer some public comment in response to what Mr. Unruh presented, I think it was last week or the week before, to the commissioners in regards to wind energy and solar energy Pacific. You made the comment, Mr. Chairman, that you as a public
Excuse me, Shane. I'm sorry. You're supposed to, Shane, spell your last name and
my
just
bad.
And what?
Yep.
Yeah, and where you're from, and just a word to the wise. You're talking fairly fast, and sometimes it's a little echoey. If you could just talk 8% slower, I think it would be beneficial for all.
Thank you, Mr. President. Shane, S-H-A-N-E, Eaton, E-A-T-O-N, Terry, Montana.
Thank you.
You bet. I'd like to respond to, I believe it was Mr. Unruh that spoke in public comment a week or two ago about wind and solar. Mr. Chairman, you made the comment that it's not the Public Service Commission's job to regulate wind and solar, and that is correct. However, the commission does regulate utilities that implement wind and solar. That affects the ratepayers of Montana. And I'm sure you all looked at the papers he presented very closely. One I would like to talk about first was the levelized cost of energy comparison that he presented. Talking about how wind is the cheapest compared to conventional sources of energy. And I'm sure you guys noticed the same thing. When you look at the charts, in the footnotes, for the conventional sources of energy, they use a low and high to get an average. So instead of like any, I would say, competent group would do, where you take the high and low out and keep them out of your average, that's what they use for the average. So you need to keep that in mind. One thing they do not do for wind and solar that the commission should take into note, if you already did not, you do not take into effect the account that in Montana, there is no severance tax levied against wind and solar as there is for other conventional energy. Solar and wind have a 75% property tax discount compared to conventional sources of energy. This matters because that goes into factoring the cost of the electricity to the ratepayers. And this may change in this legislative session or some in the future. So as the PSC looks at these rate increases, so MDU specifically can put in a wind farm, you need to keep that into account. Also, the comparison does not take into account the decommissioning for wind and solar, which in Montana does not have to happen until year 15. So there's a tremendous amount of cost sitting there that's not being accounted for in the comparison that Mr. Unruh put together. And that all goes back into what is the real cost for ratepayers in the future if we go down the path of allowing utilities to go into the green energy sector. One other thing you talked about, Mr. Chairman, in the commission I'd like to bring up is the fact, and this is very important, and I'm sure you and Commissioner Pinocci found out about this in your trip to DC, but American Electric Power out of Oklahoma had a lawsuit against GE Vernova. Mr. Unruh put out a handout that said wind turbines very rarely ever fall or have malfunctions. The lawsuit in Oklahoma was over 3 projects in Oklahoma, and the suit was just settled last month. This is significant because this is a brand new wind field, and it cost the ratepayers in Oklahoma millions upon millions of dollars because of the malfunctioning equipment, and they had to go to the secondary source to buy power. So as we look in Montana, if we're going to shift our electricity needs to wind and solar that are not reliable, plus they have proven lawsuits over malfunctioning equipment. One of the components of the lawsuit was blade liberation events. And I would urge you all to look that up, what a blade liberation event is. So for him to come to the commission and say these type of events do not happen, they're just a lawsuit settled in Oklahoma, and I'm sure you all were aware of that. One other thing, because I'll keep this short, is property taxes. The biggest selling point often is property taxes generated to the local community and the state and the county. And as you as the commission are being sold on these wind and solar projects, that is often one of the biggest factors. Now, he handed out a handout that showed all the tax revenue, and I'm sure you all went over it. But he did not further clarify how it works. And I know everyone sitting on the screen there today was a legislator. So I know you guys are all familiar with how property taxes work. So for example, in my county of Prairie County, and I believe every county, 27 point, well, this was in 2023, 27.6% of the property taxes assessed stay in the county. Everything else goes to the state, education or general fund. Mr. Unruh's handouts does not delineate that for you guys or for the public, so it's very misleading. He takes Custer County, for example, 990,000 991,000, I'm sorry, of property tax. Okay. Only 27.6% of that stays in the county. Now of that further, if this was Prairie County, only a little over 48% actually goes to the county. So as a commission, when you are being sold on why MDU needs a shift to this cheaper energy, and because of these supposed benefits, please look at all the factors and read the fine print. And I know you all do a lot of research, and the Texas Public Policy Foundation is a tremendous source that the commission should look into when considering these projects. One of the biggest things that's going to happen in Montana is real estate valuation. Mr. Unruh said it's not a significant issue with real estate. I would beg to differ, and from the and I will quote from the National Association of Realtors that there's 11% average decrease in property values near wind farms. Mr. Unruh gave an estimate of 0 to 8%. So I would urge you to listen to the National Association of Realtors. And Colorado realtors have up to 50% loss of property values. So when you consider these things and you are being sold on them, the ratepayers not only in these areas are going to pay more in the end for power, they're also going to be losing property value. And much of what I quoted today came from the Texas Public Policy Foundation. And so I would urge you in the future to please read the fine print, look at the details, and consider the ratepayers when we're looking at alternative forms of energy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Shane. It appears that you are well read, and we appreciate your public comments. Are there any other public commenters that have come on since we started? Seeing none. The only announcement I would give, and this actually goes to item number 10, is that on Friday, if we don't have anything other than legislative updates, and if there are no legislative updates, we might not have a business meeting next week. We'll figure that out on Friday. So going forward, seeing no further business to come before this commission, for the record, the time is 2:20 p.m. and the date of the next meeting will be, I believe, May 2nd of this year, pending. This meeting is adjourned.